African countries to reduce on-case backlog and to speed up justice to litigants in their respective countries. Day one of the conference was attended by judicial officers, African Chief Justices, mediators, arbitrators, lawyers from African countries, and retired judicial officers. At the opening of the conference, Chief Justice Dr. Flavian Zeija said, following the enactment of the ADR policy, cognizant of disputes that are community-based, ADR can be the best solution to such disputes to avoid piling of cases before the courts of law.
Courts don't resolve disputes; they decide the cases. That is why when a High Court judge hands off a decision, the first thing the person says, "I will appeal." Because some of these disputes that bring us to court can actually be solved by either, for example, if it's a family matter, it can be solved by a religious leader, it can be solved by elders, it can be, before you come to court.
Chief Justice Dr. Flavian also revealed that with the urgent need to embrace ADR, the judiciary has started to implement the alternative justice system strategies in different parts of the country. A case in point, the sub-region of Acholi, Lango, and Buganda, and training of mediators and arbitrators.
None ever told us that actually a case can be resolved outside the court system. So we are trying to preach that gospel. We are trying to do a lot of training so that every person is on the same page. And then after that, we think that when everyone is on board, then very many people will be going for ADR.
President East African Chief Justices, Justice Nestroy Kayobere, noted that the ADR mechanism will enable efficiency and strengthen the development of justice and to solve disputes within member communities without fluctuation.
They allow for neutrality, confidentiality, and speed qualities that traditional litigation often struggles to match in a complex regional context.
Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs Norbert Mao held the view that alternative dispute resolution is the only way to go to speed up dispensation of justice to litigants.
When parties go to court and they say, "I will show him who I am," then their focus is not even to solve the problem. It is about proving some point. Those we call stakeholders are, for instance, the people who have disputes. The other stakeholders are the lawyers. It is important that the lawyers realize that ADR is cheaper, it is quicker, and it is more flexible, and it is centered on the parties.
Mao, however, dismissed allegations that ADR can't serve justice.
But some people think that perhaps they are accused persons who simply admit guilt in order to get out of jail, whether they actually committed the offense or not. Now, that should be subject to case-by-case analysis. We cannot generalize. Plea bargaining is a good initiative that the judiciary of Uganda has initiated, and it is clearing our prisons.
The conference, scheduled to run for 5 days, will look at capacity building, masterclass on construction contract and adjudication of construction disputes, domestic arbitration, and international arbitration. Deborah Namamonde, Viola Nansuga, UBC News.
The Public Accounts Committee of Parliament has dismissed officials from the Ministry of Public Service for failure to account for funds allocated for the financial year 2024-2025. The Ministry Accounting Officer, Catherine Vitarakwate Musingwire, had delegated the Under-Secretary to the committee. The Deputy Chairperson of PAC has ordered the Accounting Officer to personally appear before the committee tomorrow.
They will have for you.
On 2nd March 2026, the Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee dismissed officials from the Ministry of Public Service, led by the Accounting Officer, Catherine Vitarakwate, over failure to account for the funds allocated to the ministry for the financial year 2024-2025. The officials were also tasked to explain concerns raised in the Auditor General's report for the financial year ended 2025, including allegations of civil servants participating in partisan politics. Vitarakwate cited that she did not have immediate answers to some of the queries and needed to consult the Attorney General for guidance.
The same day for her, can that happen?
The ministry was then directed to appear before the committee again on March 6, 2026, today. However, the officials who appeared were led by the Undersecretary, Roger Elumba Kaija, who said he had been delegated by the Permanent Secretary to represent her.
I'm holding the brief for the Permanent Secretary, a scheduled engagement in Cabinet.
So we have never gotten any communication from her, either either in writing or through SMS, anything.
This did not sit well with members of the committee, who noted that the Undersecretary is not legally authorized to account for government funds on behalf of the accounting officer.
Delegation is so important that it must specify the scope of the delegation.
She might have delegated somebody else to State House, but she knows this committee is very useless. We shall agree with.
The assignment given to him is to head a delegation. It is not actually that he has been delegated the responsibility of accounting officer to represent the accounting officer.
He was also asked to present a formal letter of delegation, allowing him to represent the accounting officer, but all in vain.
You kindly tender in that letter before this committee.
Madam Chair, it was delivered on Friday.
Who delivered it? Bring your evidence of acknowledgement.
The deputy chairperson of the committee, Gareth Namuga, suspended the meeting for 30 minutes to allow the ministry officials time to present evidence of the delegation, where officials later returned with an internal memo.
This is to delegate to you the responsibility of accounting officer for Monday, 9th March 2026 for purposes of heading the delegation.
Public service can handle matters of management of staff and other matters related to public administration like this. One doubts the capacity and competence of public service to supervise other entities of government.
However, committee members expressed dissatisfaction, describing the move as disrespectful.
Otherwise, if they had respected you, the accounting officer would have written it to you.
When you have a subsidiary law like the Public Finance and Accountability Law, where it is in conflict with the Constitution, that part becomes null and void.
The committee deputy chair directed the accounting officer, Catherine Bitarakwate, and her team to appear before PAC tomorrow at 4 p.m. and failure to comply, it will attract serious repercussions.
This qualifies us to make a recommendation to Parliament that Parliament does not allocate the Ministry of Public Service funds for the year 2026-27.
Rebecca Nantongo, Gloria Gutabinji at Parliament.
The Uganda Bureau of Statistics, UBOS, has released its dissemination calendar for completed surveys and census reports for the year 2025. The expected statistics are intended to guide different government ministries and agencies in planning, with the first report of the Uganda Malaria Survey scheduled for release on the 12th of March 2026.
Uganda Bureau of Statistics surveys and census report are baseline for evidence-based planning, decision-making and informed public debate.
Because it doesn't actually mean that these are the only available information on the website. There are other reports, even the census report is still there. But also we have other economic statistics. We have prices of goods and services that we publish every end of the month, every last working day of the month. And this is also very critical statistics that everyone must know. You should know that you're going to spend a certain amount of money.
The Bureau has released a calendar for the dissemination of completed reports for different government sectors.
Who must understand this from the word go, right from the time we are presenting it to the general public, and it is within their responsibility and mandate to go and internalize this data and see where are the gaps. Where have we made progress? Where are we lacking? And strengthen those areas.
On 12th of March 2026, the Bureau released the Uganda Malaria Survey Report 2025. On 19th of March 2026, it released the Orphans and Other Vulnerable Children's Report. On 26th of March 2026, the Multidimensional Poverty Index Monograph 2024, Volume 5 will be released. On 9th of April 2026, the Baseline Education Report 2025 will be released. The Labour Market Survey Report 2025 will be released on 16th of April 2026. The 23rd of April 2026, the National Human Resource Survey Report 2025 will be released. On 30th of April 2026, the Bureau released the Uganda Aquaculture Report 2025. And on 7th of May 2026, UBOS will release the Uganda Harmonized Indicator Surveys Report, Waves 1, 2, and 3.
And we are providing you with concrete agreed position of the institution that on such and such a day, we shall be able to disseminate A, B, C, D. So that is the purpose. We always say that information is power. And it is only when you have information that you're able to understand or appreciate something. That's why we are here to give you that information.
Government agencies and other stakeholders have been urged to utilize the data for appropriate and timely planning.
It is only important that we stick to our mandate and ensure that we provide regular statistical data and information to guide planning processes. And I want to assure you, by the way, that without these statistics, planning can be very hard, because otherwise you will not know what you are planning for. You will not even be able to understand the category of the population you are planning for. Neither shall you understand the challenges that is in a particular population, district, sub-county, and so on and so forth.
Government uses UBOS statistics to determine the country's GDP, per capita income, and the general population standards of living.
Uganda is strengthening the agri-business sector through international partnerships to improve agricultural technology, skills development and market access. An Italy-supported initiative has converged experts, farmers and agribusiness stakeholders to promote innovation and trade.
The Italian trade agency program Labu Innova for Africa Lucha Atanasio that started on 9th ends on the 13th of March. The ambassador of Italy to Uganda, His Excellency Mauro Masson, says the collaboration will strengthen markets and technology exchange in the agriculture sector.
Italy will donate advanced agricultural machinery and will train farmers in their use. In 2024, Italy's import from Uganda amounted to approximately $431 million, up strongly from previous year, with coffee and cocoa products as the main items. In the same year, Italy's exports to Uganda were about $146 million, largely machinery.
Uganda has a strong agricultural potential, but it needs to promote its products better on international markets for global recognition.
If I go in a supermarket, in a shop here, for me it's impossible to find a box of Uganda tea which you may give as a present. So a nice box, maybe a metal box. While you can find these kind of things produced by neighbor countries. So even packaging, for instance, is important. You may have the best product in the world, but if the packaging is not so nice, not so beautiful, you cannot use your products as a present.
Meanwhile, Claudia Pascalucci, director of the Italian Trade Agency office in Addis Ababa, said the program was inspired by the vision of the late Italian ambassador Lucha Atanasio, whose goal was to strengthen cooperation between Italy and the African countries through innovation and entrepreneurship. The initiative focuses on empowering African entrepreneurs and agribusiness players with the knowledge, skills and connections to access global markets.
We need commodities from African countries, such as coffee or tea, for example, or fresh fruit. In exchange, we provide Uganda, actually is the first item we export in Uganda, technological machineries. So we enhance Ugandan company to develop their products with top-notch technologies. So it's like a circular economy. So we provide technology, we buy products from Uganda, and having these ties, enhancing these ties is what we are hoping to achieve on this course.
The Assistant Commissioner for Agribusiness at the Ministry of Agriculture, Yafes Ogwang, said the government is committed to implementing national policies that promote sustainable agriculture to improve the quality and standards of Uganda's agricultural exports.
My key responsibilities would include formulating and implementing national policies to enhance agricultural productivity and ensure food security. Because if we don't produce, we'll have nothing to export. First of all, we have to ensure that there's enough for consumption and also enough for export. We regulating the use of agricultural chemicals, veterinary drugs, and other inputs to ensure quality and safety.
Labo Innova for Africa highlights the growing cooperation between the two nations in trade, agriculture, and private sector development.
Training, mainly training to enterprises, to companies, is still now one of the pillars of our activity, together with trade promotion.
When we look at a country, Uganda, we find that there is a lot of opportunities, especially in agriculture, but we are so much lagged behind because of the capacities to access some of the markets.
Our training here is to know what they want, the qualities they want, and when should we take, and the process through which one has to go to make sure that the product gets to the destination.
Of our companies get into business without preparing themselves, and to export, it is impossible for you to succeed if you don't prepare yourselves.
The challenges we are having majorly as exporters is certification. Ugandans, our fruits and vegetables are not certified well. There are so many certificates needed. You find that you need the GAP certification, you need the organic certification. There are so many.
Amwaeva Njuko and Stephen
Uganda is set to participate in the upcoming UK Global Health Summit, a meeting expected to bring together stakeholders from the United Kingdom and across the world to discuss issues affecting the global health sector. John Ban-Sentamu reports.
Shrinking overseas development funding, to especially affecting us in Africa.
Dr. Shiba Jita, who is the Global Health Partnerships Country Director Uganda, says the summit will serve as an important forum for dialogue on the rapidly changing global health landscape. Countries are facing a growing burden of both infectious and non-infectious diseases, while many health systems struggle with limited resources. She explained that the recent funding cuts by the United Kingdom and the United States of America have created challenges for health programs across the continent. Despite these constraints, she described the summit as a major opportunity for Uganda to join in discussions on key issues such as co-investment and strengthening of health systems.
So one of the key conversations we hope to have at this conference is going to be around co-investments. We know that Uganda will lose healthcare workers moving to the UK and other countries, developed worlds where they were. And they play a critical role in the health system of the UK and those other countries. So the question is, how can we, the two countries, benefit from this? That is what we are going.
Uganda is expected to be represented by a delegation led by the Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary Dr. Diana Atwine, who will deliver a keynote address. Uganda has already benefited from international partnerships like developments at Hoima Hospital that are driven by its people in the diaspora. Uganda will also have a chance to showcase its health innovations, while the UK medical volunteers that come to Uganda are reassured of valuable clinical and leadership experience gained.
One of the projects that we've been supporting as Global Health Partnership is a partnership between Moorfields Hospital in the UK and iHealth Africa. And that particular partnership has been working in Hoima Regional Hospital, and they've been addressing retinopathy, nurses, and clinical officers within Hoima Regional Referral. And right now, babies that are born prematurely in that hospital are screened for this condition, retinopathy of immaturity. And if they are identified as having it, they are started being treated.
The UK Global Health Summit that starts on Monday next week will have representatives from countries like Zimbabwe, Ghana, and Nigeria. The summit at the Royal College of Physicians in London will also hear from the World Health Organization Regional Director for Africa, Professor Mohamed Yacoub. Now in its 8th year, the summit started as Uganda-UK Health Summit, then transformed into the UK-Africa Health Summit, but is now the UK Global Health Summit.
I look forward to the next 2 days of excitement and also seeing how we can share some solutions globally, but also to areas here in the UK. I want to call out some of my colleagues from the diaspora who have been a voice of reason in global health, whom we work together, and also our ministries of health. Thank you.
News Tonight now takes a short break, but we'll be returning with the latest in business. Do stay with us.
So, Muchara.
Yes, Daddy.
You know the children are going back to school and things are a bit tight. For now, why don't you take half of the fees to junior school, and for the school van contribution, we shall pay later.
Daddy, why don't we pay using MTN Momo, where we stand a chance of winning school fees for a whole year and more? By the way, you can also apply for a school fees loan, and also participating schools can win a school van.
That's right! Win school fees for a whole year and more. Get Momo goodies and a school van for participating schools. You can also apply for a school fees loan. Simply dial *165*80# or use the Momo app.
It's back, bigger and with more business opportunities. It's the Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo, Poate 2026, Uganda's flagship tourism event. Poate 2026 will take place from the 21st to the 23rd of May 2026 at the Speak Resort Convention Center, Munyonyo, under the theme Wanderlust. It's your time to thrive. Yes, it's your time to tap into Uganda's renewed optimism and tourism growth. Tourism stakeholders, travel trade partners, and tourism enthusiasts will be part of the Poate 2026. Come and network with like-minded people and unlock new business opportunities. To participate, register at www.poate.co.ug. Poate 2026 is brought to you by Uganda Tourism Board and partners.
Alright, listen up. Colgate is on a mission.
It's kind of a big thing.
Colgate Herbal uses traditional nature's herbs and combines it with Colgate Science for healthy gums and strong teeth.
New Colgate Herbal with Salt combines traditional nature's herbs with a pinch of salt and Colgate Science. A natural recipe for strong teeth and healthy gums.
Welcome back from that break, and this is News Tonight here on UBC TV. Business news now, and the National Social Security Fund, NSSF, is determined to bring more workers from the informal sector into the savings scheme to expand social security coverage across the country. The Managing Director, NSSF, Patrick Ayota, says the fund will focus on the informal sector. The fund projects its assets to grow to about 50 trillion Ugandan shillings by 2035, with the growth expected to be driven by steady annual increases of roughly 3 trillion shillings, supported by strong member contributions, sound investments, and expanded voluntary savings options.
Discuss our plans, okay? But one of the other key things that we did today was to reward the compliant employers that have demonstrated consistency in making sure that contributions for their employees are deducted and are remitted at the right time. So we were able to reward them here in Hoima. 8
to 40% of business in Uganda is owned and managed by women, and yet we receive only 1%, and I want 1% of the contracts to women. So the purpose why we should have these engagements is to ensure that also women are empowered. That time I was giving an example that actually women are the most disciplined financial controllers. When you have business, most organizations you find a financial controller a woman, even at home.
I think the amazing thing we are doing this year is this whole thing with the informal sector. We are very, very cognizant that for somebody to save with us, we need to bring them value. So you're seeing us doing things with entrepreneurs, providing some seed capital to them. You're seeing us in agriculture, where we can intervene between the marketplace and the farmers so that farmers can make more money. You're getting into the border borders, trying to help them get to these things. And I think those things are helping a lot.
So, Muchara.
Yes, Daddy.
You know the children are going back to school and things are a bit tight. Huh? For now, why don't you take half of the fees to junior school, and for the school van contribution, we shall pay later. Huh?
Daddy, why don't we pay using MTN Momo, where we stand a chance of winning school fees for a whole year and more? By the way, you can also apply for a school fees loan, and also participating schools can win a school van.
That's right! Win school fees for a whole year and more. Get Momo goodies and a school van for participating schools. You can also apply for a school fees loan. Simply dial *165*80# or use the Momo app.
Ai ma tetalo kelo pieni alaka bedo tie pi ma tetalo kelo utie maleng lo nam manaka watwomo
baleri wa pepea kumbeni ma ene da ko leng pe da ko yel da ko matar ofo tutwal nikel wa pitetal.
As for now, you see, I'm very happy. Now the roofs are okay, the walls are now okay, the whole school looks very beautiful. Everybody who comes is seeing, really appreciating and saying, wow, that is good. So I appreciate the funders and those who thought about Kirama Primary School.
Kono bedo tek pen no kita mau teno waramo kwano ke de book peti pen wano pe ke de gumengi no sola nyotara eto ichani mado no wane tara teno wado ngina kwana ber.
I'm very happy for Total for putting in this initiative. Really, as a community, it has not been easy because we do find with the limited facilities, limited human resource, we have been having challenges. You could come and take a lot of time, at times sitting under the trees, sitting down on the floor, but really with the new structure they have put in, I believe services are going to improve.
When this rain came and blew over our roof, it has spoiled a lot of our things that we have kept in the house, because when the rain was raining, all of us were inside for work. We only got home when the damage has been done already. But at the moment, I've seen the renovation has been completed. Our house is really looking good. We have seen all the facility has been put in place. That alone motivates us to do a lot.
Listen up. Colgate is on a mission.
It's kind of a big thing.
Colgate Herbal uses traditional nature's herbs and combines it with Colgate Science for healthy gums and strong teeth.
New Colgate Herbal with Salt combines traditional nature's herbs with a pinch of salt and Colgate Science. A natural recipe for strong teeth and healthy gums.
In 2024, Uganda recorded 37,000 new HIV infections and 20,000 AIDS-related deaths, a situation that calls for collective efforts if the country is to achieve its target of ending AIDS by 2030.
Somebody infecting another person. So there's no way you can say men cannot be infected, only women can be infected. So from the simple fact that people can infect one another, there's no logic in saying that only women should test. It should be everybody. It's just logical.
Together, we can end AIDS in Uganda. Every second counts. Let's act now. This message is brought to you by Uganda AIDS Commission, Office of the President.
Welcome back. Now on the world scene, we're getting information that Israel has actually bombed an oil depot in Iran, and this latest bombing is likely to escalate to the already soaring oil prices across the globe. Take a watch.
Tehran are extremely worried about the environmental impact of such explosions on Tehran. The governor of Tehran just announced that the fuel supply network in Tehran has been damaged, and he said the full restoration of this network may take a few days. He also urged residents to avoid unnecessary travel and visits to gas stations unless essential. So I think Tehran will face some difficult days ahead, but the oil ministry is trying hard to restore the full capacity of this city in gas stations and also the relevant organizations. Safer Sarimi, CGTN, Tehran.
And that is the latest in the war that's going on between Israel, the US and Iran, and of course the latest being that bombing of that depot in Iran. And that brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for having kept us company. But up next here on UBC TV is the front bench with Jethro Kaseiji, who is on standby. Jethro, over to you.
Thank you so much, Rukidi Kiijjanangoma. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the front bench. Now, the government of Uganda usually aligns its legislative priorities, but also putting into consideration that it has to ensure that there is good governance across the country. So tonight, on the front bench, we shall be understanding how government business is managed, prioritized, but also delivered in Parliament. Putting all this into context, I do have the government chief whip, Honorable Dennis Hamson Obua, on the show. Good to have you once again, Honorable.
A very good evening to all viewers, fellow countrymen and women watching from within and without Uganda.
Thank you so much. He's not alone. I also do have the legal officer from the Office of the Prime Minister. That is Mr. Alfred Feta. Good to have you, Mr. Alfred.
Good evening, viewers. I am honored to be on this show. Thank you for inviting us to present issues related to the government legislative agenda and the operations of the Office of the Government Chief Whip.
Well, thank you so much. Gentlemen, we shall be understanding a lot more from these two officers in what they are doing to drive national development. Be part of the show using that hashtag UBC Front Bench. I am Jethro Kaseiji.
Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future in thy